Hey DJ, will you play that music?
Oh, we are 177 episodes in, and I finally passed the reins to Ari to usher in the episode.
That felt like power.
You have the power.
I know. I was like, oh my goodness, I did it.
It makes me laugh because, like, I don't know, like, just after all this time, and even though I know we're coming up on the end here, like, it feels good to try new things.
Yeah.
Right? Hello everyone. Welcome back to Restitching the Tapestry. It is, well, as of our recording time, it is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. And as you can see, we have a new layout here. I decided ahead of time to sell it because this was going to be the layout for season 6.
Wow.
I decided for the last 2 or 3 episodes, let's just roll out the new look. Why not?
I love it.
Yeah, I just felt like we needed an upgrade. We needed a facelift, Ari.
We did. We definitely did.
So before we do anything, let's talk about how we've been and what we've been up to.
My mental health is improving. It is still not there yet, I would say. Since the last episode, I have so much more breathing room. However, it's very tentative. I still have moments where I'm like, what is happening around me? What is this weird reality that I am in right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my psychiatrist is starting me on old meds at work. So it's a bit of an adjustment. Yeah, I put up my Christmas tree.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that's new tonight is you were in a different location too. Like
I know I'm in a secondary location. I'm on my, I don't know if you can see, but I'm on my yellow couch in my living room. I thought we would do cozy episode tonight. So you're in my living room.
Love it. No, like so this is Hodgepodge 5.0. We love our little Hodgepodge episodes because we get to talk about everything and anything.
Mhm.
And we just felt that it would be fitting to just relax ourselves tonight. We had our big episode last week where we talked about like the gravity of things, the election, why this chapter of us is coming to a close, right? Well, what have I been up to? I've been schooling it up per the usual. I've been doing some creative stuff. I've been doing a lot of organizing. I don't know. I've been doing like this past week. I don't know if it's been current events or what, but I've just been like really reorganizing a lot of things.
Right.
It's just keeping me busy. It's keeping me busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gearing up for the end of season 3 of Growing Up with Godzilla. So that's
so excited. I
know.
watched some of the latest Godzilla episodes where you did the like collaboration episode with all of the
the Kaiju Galaxy one.
oh, that was
Yes.
such a good episode. I
Thank
like
you.
almost cried because it was so sweet. And it was just so nice to see all of your friends together. And I was just like, wow, look at all of these people. And you've known each other for so long. And I was just like, wow, it's just like the testament to friendship. And I was just like, yes, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I know. Honestly, I feel that same feeling. Not to get overly sentimental about what we do here, but that's the same feeling I get when I look back at our show as a whole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And like, because all of the like the communities that we build
Hmm.
are definitely a reflection of the friendships that we create. Sometimes they are based on the friendships we create. Sometimes they are an extension, right? And I don't know, maybe I'm just getting overly emotional in my older age, but that's just, it gets to me.
Yeah. That's how I feel about the water community. I really love the water community a lot. We have a really good community over there. Um, like
Eh,
Dylan and Nick and Matt and John and all of them.
mhm.
Um, we we're very inclusive in the community. We care about a lot of people, that anybody can join. Just if you want to film yourself drinking water, definitely just start drinking water and be part of the water community.
Just do it. And now you have a channel of almost 1,000 subscribers dedicated to that, which I think is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, so P.S. everybody, if you've not gone and subscribed to Ari's channel, Boocha Baby, what are you doing? And what I also love is sometimes when you drink about water, you talk about like philosophy and life events and like
All
sometimes you'll
sorts
clean
of
in the kitchen.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes I clean the kitchen or I talk about like transcendental meditation or some kind of something.
I love it. I love it. Well, current event snapshot. We feel able to do one this week.
Yes, yes. I think,
So
well, last week it was like the whole thing was basically a current event snapshot, wasn't it?
it sure as hell was one, that's for sure. So what do we got going on in current events, Ari?
Well, they're talking about who they're going to put in the cabinet. And yeah, wow. Wow.
I recently saw that Elon Musk is going to have a position as secret. What is it like? What is the title? It's some ridiculous title.
I
But
also I noticed that a lot of people have been signing up for Blue Sky.
yeah, people. Oh my God, that is a current event. People are leaving Twitter or X in droves and signing up on Blue Sky. So I've been on Blue Sky for a few months. Ari, you just registered on Blue Sky.
I was on Blue Sky before, but then I deleted my account because what I do is I sign up for something and then I'm on there for a while and I'm like, I don't know about this, but then I'll leave and then I'm like, oh, I could probably come back again and try it again. Um, but that's why I was on Twitter for a while, is because I was like, well, everybody's still on Twitter. I guess I can still be on Twitter for a while, I guess. And then I was like, this is the worst nightmare of my life. The algorithm on Twitter is just nightmarish.
Twitter is so exhausting. And
It's so
honestly,
exhausting.
leading up to the election, it was just nothing but like Trump, like pro Trump ads. I mean, of course it was because Musk owns Twitter, right?
Right.
But like, no, I guess the big current event is that Trump is promoting his cabinet right now, and it's looking like it's going to be absolute mayhem. So that's,
The most I'm concerned about is Robert F. Kennedy being department head of Health and Human Services. That actually makes me quite nervous.
yeah, me too.
That he's going to have control of that cabinet because I don't think he actually believes in vaccinations.
Hmm.
And if there's another global pandemic, um, we might be a little screwed in so many ways.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that too. I was thinking that too. I just like I've had a week to think about everything going on. I've done a video about it. We talked about it in last week's episode. I I'm don't get me wrong, I'm still scared. Like I'm still worried, but I've gotten to the point now where I'm like we need to advocate, we need to vocalize. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have moments where I will like kind of like want to crawl away into a hole, but I also understand that not everybody has the privilege to be able to do that either. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's part of what I've been personally doing is um, getting my house ready, getting my apartment ready.
mhm.
And I've been fixing things like around my house, like getting furniture cleaned up and getting my house like in order and fixing clothes and things like that. Learning how to darn my clothes
That's cool.
um, I realized that I was doing all of this as a survival skill. That this
Mm-hmm.
was that this was like I might have to that it wasn't just like I was doing this as a self-care thing, that this was like I'm doing this because I may have to live in my house for a long period of time and I may not be able to replace these things. Like I may not be able to afford to replace these things. So I may have to just work with what I have and
Mm-hmm.
just repair the things that I have as far as like making them work for long term.
Yeah. No, like I mean, I've been kind of that way with like gardening stuff. Like we just kind of closed up our greenhouse for the season, but I've been like doing seed storage things to like replenish my seed supply. Because like I've been like very finicky about like a seed supply. Like I need to have these seeds so I can make sure that I can grow plants and all. Like I guess my big issue though, because like my weakness is that I tend to get really swept up in the doom scrolling. So
Yeah.
I've been trying really hard to kind of not get swept away in that,
Yeah.
because like when I get swept away in the doom scrolling, then I'm like I kind of am on like this feedback loop of like, oh my God, like what's happening? Oh my God. And it's not that we shouldn't be concerned about what's happening, but like I think that we also need to be able to healthily remove ourselves and be able to kind of just like we were talking about like last week, just going outside, like taking in the air, like getting away for a moment. Like it can be so difficult knowing when to do that,
I
right?
can physically quantify literally during the worst of my mental health how much I was doom scrolling on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Because my phone keeps track of, because I have this minimalist app and it tells me how many hours I've spent on YouTube or other apps that are like it sets a timer. And every
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes it'll say, "Do you want to stay on here or do you want to leave?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I was hitting that button every 15 minutes during the worst of my doom scrolling. And at my worst, um, I was on YouTube for 72 hours in a week.
Wow.
And that's just on YouTube. That's not on
That's
the
like
other
4
social media.
days, right?
That's like 4 days tote straight.
I feel like I'm on TikTok that long. Like I spent a lot of time on TikTok.
Yeah. But could you imagine like when your mental health is like tanked and like you're at your worst,
Mm,
spending 4 days on an app that is destroying your mental health to the point of, yeah, no wonder why I was hospitalized. I was spending so much time. Now, now I spend less than 20 hours on YouTube and it's mostly for music.
hmm
I literally just do not watch videos anymore.
I don't blame you. I don't
Yeah.
blame you. I don't watch like a lot of stuff other than like stuff by those closest to me, like you and like a few other YouTubers. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like I try to stay tuned into like the Godzilla community so long as there's no drama in the Godzilla community. But you know, that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. So,
Yeah.
Ari, are you ready to do the mission statement tonight?
Oh my goodness, is it my turn too? Oh, so
It
I got
is
to do
your turn.
I got to do the opener and the mission statement. Man,
You're owning this episode, and I love it.
this is hodgepodge night. Look at this. Here we go. We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the power causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make connections and have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing.
Mm, I'm absorbing. I'm
Yeah,
absorbing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
I loved your little choreography. Weave. Weave the threads.
Yeah.
I loved it. No, so like, okay, so tonight's episode is Hodgepodge 5.0. And we really enjoy these episodes because it kind of just like allows us to just go with the flow. I mean, we do have notes and we do have questions and everything like that. But I think it's just going to be just a series of like different topics that we'll be talking about. And I'm looking forward to it. Um,
I'm so excited about this episode because
I,
we have so many good notes.
I know, me too. I'm so excited. So, well, what have we been deep diving into lately? Do you want me to start? Uh,
What have I been deep diving into lately? Books. Books are my big thing right now.
You've been deep diving into books. I've
Yeah,
been deep diving into my juvenilia,
yeah.
which, for those of you who do not know what that means, juvenilia is the artwork or writing created by a person when they are younger.
Ooh.
So I found a treasure trove of some old poems that I wrote back in high school. And when I say high school, I mean like 2006 high school.
Ooh.
So when I found the old poetry, at first I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, like, what do I reread this? What do I do? Do I keep it? So can you imagine the choice that I made?
You read it.
I read it and I decided that I'm going to keep it. I just, I'm very different than most people, I think, with like old work. Like a lot of people just kind of like want to do away with it. For me, I like to keep it, but I store it away someplace, you know? Like an old poem reliquary. Remember that series I started on my poetry channel? Maybe I should revive that. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Um, so, Ari, where do you stand on holding onto old work? I think you tend to be you have like a retention period.
Hang on, I have to show you something.
Oh my God, show me.
I have some juvenilia.
Oh goodness. I'm so excited. Well, I guess so while Ari's fetching that, like for me, I like to hold on to juvenilia because I think it helps showcase how far we've grown. And I like to be able to look at that old poetry and be like, wow, I'm a completely different person than I used to be.
So I have this. These are from 2005. It's called
Wow.
Traveling Eastward and experience the end of the long road, experience the end of the world and the long road home getting settled. And they're both at the same time. They're two notebooks that I took on a road trip that I went with my sister, my two sisters, and my mom back in 2005. We went from Michigan to Maine in the car, and I was in the back seat. And literally, I cataloged everything, every single conversation that we had on this trip, every thought, every moment.
Wow.
Like, here's something. She wrote, here's something I wrote. Nikki, I literally wrote it like a script. Nikki, you've been writing the whole time? Dang, me. Yeah, I'm going to bed. Nikki, cool, yawn. Okay, signing off.
I
And
love
then it's
that.
and at 6:33 a.m., my mother starts singing Rise and shine and give God your glory, glory at 6:30 in the morning.
See, now, like, because I know you've done away with some journals in the past. Like, what made you choose to keep those?
I didn't keep them. My mom found them in a shed.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I should keep these because I want to write a screenplay about them because they're basically a screenplay in and of themselves.
Well, the whole like scenario of driving to Maine.
Yeah, we're driving to Bangor.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Was it
Because
just like a trip for fun, or was it like,
we were dropping my sister off at she was working at a campground as a counselor for the summer, and we were dropping her off.
Oh, okay. So it kind of became like a convenient trip then.
It did. And we had never been to Maine, but we traveled all the way up through the eastern seaboard, up through Boston and everything.
I
And this
bet
was
you that was
before GPS.
beautiful.
It was. It was so beautiful. And my sister has a series of letters that I wrote to her that summer because I did a comic book letter series about her moose that she left behind and her turtle.
Oh my God. Ari, like, so how old were you? And you said this was 2005?
It was 2005. I was 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, this is the kind of stuff that I really like because, like, it just shows us a snapshot of a different time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm so obsessed with writing. I think that's why I'm also, like, really obsessed with YouTube because, like, you look back 10, 15 years ago, who were we? What were our thoughts? Who are we now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I have some juvenilia to share.
Let's hear it.
So I found like an old journal, and the journal motivated me to start perusing the early days on DeviantArt. So one of my first social media sites that I was ever on was DeviantArt.
Yeah.
Probably should not have been on it at my age because in 2005 and 2006, which is kind of the same time for that yours was, I was like 17, 18 years old,
Yeah.
thereabouts. So I found probably about 120 poems that I thought were lost.
Ooh.
So my project the last couple of weeks has been finding those poems, either typing them up or copying and pasting them into a Google Doc. And I've been like, now you can do like little like tabs in your Google Doc. So I have them like organized by year. It's so obsessed. It's so type A. It's ridiculous. So, do you want to hear a poem that I wrote in my high school creative writing class?
Yes.
So, to preface, this was like junior, senior year. I knew that I was gay. I was having the feelings. I was praying them away. But I was not out yet.
Yeah.
I was not out yet. In fact, I'm fairly sure. Do you remember Sarah Rao? I'm fairly sure Sarah Rao was my girlfriend when I wrote this poem.
Oh my goodness. Let's hear it.
Woo!
Wait here. Wind up, wind up. Let's hear it. Praying
Okay.
away the gay. We're praying away. I'm just
This
kidding.
poem is kind of heavy. No, like I'm like I was always praying away the gay. Now we're manifesting the gay. So this poem was
We need to shake it
titled.
off. We need to take it off.
Let's just quote the great Taylor Swift, right? This poem was an I am poem, like I am a insert metaphor. So the poem is titled I am a, and I picked a window as my metaphor. So the poem is
Ooh.
titled I Am A, and it was written on October 12th, 2006, specifically. I am a window, a clear view into two different visions, giving perception to all who gaze upon me, anything better than mere derisions. People look through me to find others. Sometimes I am successful, sometimes I am not, but I remain there, waiting to assist. The window is my mind, different attitudes compared to different weather. I may be impossible to find, yet my attitude is usually lighter than a feather. My positive rays, like the sun's, rain down upon the sentimental. I try to help people look into me and find positive feelings. My rainy days are overlooked, leaving me alone in a dream. I am a window, being a clear surface for people to look into.
It didn't start off. It kind of fell apart towards the end, but it started off really good.
It definitely fell apart. So what happened was I was like feeling really heavy toward the beginning. And then toward the end, I was like, let's be uplifting.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because at that time, there was like this pressure that I had where like I couldn't really let people know how I was feeling. And
Yeah.
since it was a creative writing assignment, I was really worried that my teacher would, if I really wanted to go all out, I was afraid that the teacher would see something and be concerned.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny because that I read through many of my old juvenilia, and so many of them I use the window as a metaphor. And then I looked at my newer work. That is one of the only metaphors that has carried over
A
with
window?
this image of it before it was me being a window. Now my imagery is me always looking into a space through a window and seeing people
Oh,
separate from
yeah.
me existing.
I wonder what I always use. I think mine is always waves. The water. Water is
Ooh.
always rain or water or some kind of or witches. Witches is always in mine too.
Ooh. Yeah, for me it was the window. It was between that and I would probably say the moon. The moon was always something
Oh yeah.
that I often would write about. Where was that? There was one really emo poem. Do you want me to read the really emo poem I sent you an excerpt of?
Donny, I love hearing honestly that poem that you wrote, I feel like you could actually like do an edit on it and I feel like you could actually like make it workable into something now.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's actually why another reason I want to preserve this old juvenilia because I know for feats of alchemy like I kind of pulled a bunch of like I like looked at old journals and I was inspired by old journals for some of the poems. So I really think you can glean inspiration from your old work,
Yeah.
and then like improve upon it. So do you want to hear this is the only other poem I'll read. Deep in Forever.
I want to hear it. Yes.
It's literally and it's kind of heavy. Trigger warning, everybody. It's very mental health heavy.
Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
May 4th, 2007, if I remember this date correctly, this was the month where I started admitting to myself that I am in fact a
Gay man.
homosexual. A
Yes.
homosexual. So
I love it. Donnie was an egg at this point.
I was an egg and I was ready to hatch. So deep in forever. As the days age, I do with them. The clouds wheeled by, wishing that I could merely fly. All of this is a menial dream, I tell myself, a thought swept away by life's stream. I really was caught up in rhyming back then, as you can tell.
I like it.
I grow distant and cold, unable to control emotions that I hold. My changing self pushes the ones I love away. Nothing I can do to make them sway. Eventually, all I have is myself, wandering alone in this world of endless dreams. Alien I have become, and a worldly comfort is there. Not a worldly comfort is there for me now. Ooh, that was bad. Just a void of nothingness. How much? I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. Just a void of nothingness. How much longer shall this gap envelop me? It is the fire of time that slowly burns me. To the ones I love, forever shall you be close. Your importance to me shall forever be, despite your opinions of me. I'll love you till the end of time or until the end of me.
God, I love young Donnie. He's so amazing.
Young Donny Ari was was dramatic as hell.
I just want to give young Donnie a hug.
I want to go back and give young Donny a hug. But yeah, so
I
that's
just
the
want
head.
to tell him it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna grow up and you're gonna find the love of your life and you're gonna be happy and you're gonna be like super successful and
Oh,
you're gonna just be like the best person and that self-doubt that you're feeling now, it's not gonna
it's
last
gone.
forever.
Yeah. Now, do you like so when I showed Ari this excerpt yesterday, we kind of like had this like conversation about like we wish we were friends in high school. Like, how would it have been different if we were friends in high school? So,
Yeah.
well, had we known each other in high school, what do you think it would have been like for us?
Oh my god, we would have written each other notes or we would have been like texting each other. I feel like had we known each other in high school, it depends on if you were older in high school with me, or if you knew me and I was like a senior and you were like a freshman and we hung out, and
Mm-hmm.
like I was like the cool older friend that you knew. I feel like I would be the person who would be like, you know, you have something really going for your writing. And we would be like people that would like write letters to each other, because that was something that I did a lot as a young person. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we would write notes to each other and be like, here's a letter for you. Or I would have like a composition notebook and I would write a letter in it and hand it to you. And you would write a letter in it and hand it back to me. And we would probably write like Godzilla fan fiction or something together. And we'd probably hang out at each other's houses watching Godzilla movies like in high school.
It's really funny. We basically did this in college.
I know, but we would be doing this in high school if we lived in the same town, and we would have like written fanfics. It would have basically been like you, me, Sarah Rao, and yeah, and Cindy, and we would have been like all hanging out in the same town. If like all four of us were like friends in high school, or if like all of us and like all of the kaiju kids like were all friends, like all of us,
Mm.
like, you know what I mean? Like,
We would have been on top of the world.
I know,
We would have been unstoppable, honestly.
honestly. Or if like all of like the Open Grove kids were all friends in high school, we would have all been like, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like it would have been so different in high school.
I
Had
feel
like
like it would have been. I feel like high school was kind of isolating for us in our own unique ways,
yeah.
and I feel like it definitely would have been different. But like, I often do. You ever think about your high school self? Like, do you like?
I think about my high school self as somebody who was um, misled by men a lot of time.
Yeah.
That I was, in short, I was groomed
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways. Um, uh, that there were a lot of men, and it wasn't not. I don't know how much of it was my fault or how much of it was other people's fault, but I did talk to a lot of older men. Um,
I
and I
did
got
too.
myself in a lot of bad situations where I was just, it was because I was talking online and I thought it made me cool to talk to older men. Um, and I think that if I had the chance to talk to younger me, I think that I would have been like, it's okay to be a kid and you don't have to be on the internet like this.
Yeah. No, like I really resonate with that because like around the same time that I wrote that poem, that's when I started joining like gay message boards and chat groups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I definitely was talking to men much older than me. And it's funny, well, it's not funny actually, but I this is a very universal LGBTQ plus experience that I've heard, where like a lot of us were so vulnerable at a certain point that we just would reach out to any community we could find, and there would be people who would prey on that, right?
Yeah.
And I remember doing that, and I remember like those early chat groups like Yahoo Messenger and AIM and everything like that. And if my family knew of like the conversations that I was having when I was in high school,
Yeah.
like they would have been appalled. And myself now looks back on that, and I would be so worried about my safety back then. I would go back in time and be like, Donny, what are you doing? But unfortunately, another thing that this very vulnerable experience like made me realize was it made me feel othered in the gay community for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And that was really, really difficult to absorb at the time. So yeah, but like I'm sorry that you had to go through that, Ari.
I think it was just part of early internet culture that we just didn't know how to protect young people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of what millennial generation is doing with young people now is that we know how to protect kids.
Yeah, we know what to look for. We know, unfortunately, a lot of it was at our expense, but like we know what to look for. And yeah. Well, so speaking of our younger selves, like how do you think younger you would react to who you are now?
Um, I think that they would have think that I'm fat. They
Oh,
would have been like, "Oh no, I grew up to be fat." And they would have been like, "My worst fear has taken hold." And I'd be like, "But it's okay because we love ourselves now." And they'd be like, "It's okay?" And I'd be like, "Yeah. You get old, you get fat."
mm-hmm.
And
I love.
I'd be like, "It doesn't matter."
Mm-hmm.
The worst fear that you ever have wanted, the worst fear of what you thought would happen happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now guess what? You're free. You're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I think my younger self would probably look at me now and be like, "You're a nerd. Like you're an ab." Because back then, I used being a nerd as like a cloak to try to hide my gayness. Not that it worked at all. Um, but like I was very resentful of being a nerd because I had like that negative association of that being like my small itty bitty mask that I was wearing. And I feel like younger me would be like really confused by it, but I feel like younger me would also be like, wow, okay, you got through that stuff and here you are now.
Mm. I would be appalled at the internalized misogyny at my younger self.
So like if you were to go back in time, your perception of your younger self, you would be appalled by it.
Yeah, I would be like, get some friends that are girls.
I feel like I would be too. Like I would be really, especially if I went back to my early college self. I remember being very misogynistic. Not like internalized, like I was outright like somewhat misogynistic.
Yeah.
And it was because I was kind of casting away a lot of that internalized misogyny because I was surrounded by it growing up in rural northern Michigan my whole life. I would have been appalled at that probably because like I think back on that time and I was just like, why did I behave that way? Like, was it to try to overmasculate myself because I was feeling like I didn't measure up, if that makes sense?
Oh my goodness, you do measure up though.
Ari, if I were born in there in the multiverse, there is an alternate reality where I am a straight dude
Oh my
with a
God.
with a
No,
with a
no, no.
Dodge 4500 whatever Dodge thing whatever truck lift kit. Can you imagine an opposite reality in which you are the opposite of who you are?
There's an opposite reality in which I am a man,
Oh,
a straight man, and we're
oh,
buddies.
we're. Can you imagine? Oh my god! Alternate reality, restitching the tapestry. We're two obnoxiously straight dudes,
With an alpha male podcast.
probably incels, having it. Oh my god, that would be terrible.
We need to do that in a alternate history timeline podcast. I'll dress up like a dude, and you can just play it a
I'll just
straight.
straight it up.
Yeah, I'll
Go
just.
grab me a beer. Oh, not the Detroit hat.
My sister said, "Where did you get that hat?" And I said, "I bought it when I was manic because I didn't want anyone to see."
You were, no pun intended, masking. Oh god, I needed that laugh. That was so funny.
She said, "So you're repping for the Detroit Tigers?" I said, "I like the Tigers."
Oh
But I just wear it
god.
out. I said I bought this hat. I'm gonna wear it now.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, why not?
Well, okay, so Ari, you've been up to a lot lately. Like you've been kind of like nesting, like,
Wait, before we
oh,
get to that, we talked about past selves. Let's look ahead.
oh.
What is episode 300 gonna look like for us? Because I want to do a time capsule episode. We were at 40 minutes.
Episode 300.
Yeah,
So if we, because so of course we are ending the show, everyone, but we've committed to ourselves that we can revive it anytime we want
yeah.
if we choose to in the future. So if we were to ever get to episode 300, I feel like we would continue to evolve our look and we would look crisp and super professional, but I feel like we would also be so laid back and comfortable that we could literally talk about anything and make it an episode.
Um, I think that we would have professional studios at that point. Like you would have a studio in your house and I would have a studio in my house, and we would either have like feeds, or um we would film several podcasts back to back to back, and like when we would get together we would film like we would take like a vacation together somewhere where we would like meet in a studio, and we
Mm-hmm.
would like film like a year's worth of podcasts like in like a week or something.
Ooh, that's what the big kids do, right?
That's what the big kids do. And then we would release those podcasts out throughout the year. And so our
Ooh.
podcast would just be like restitching, and it would be like, if we ever, I feel like that's what 300 would look like.
Well, at the trajectory we're going, that's going to be grand. Because I feel like we're on a. If you look, guys, if you look at the show as it is now, after you're done watching this episode, I want you to go back to season 1. And I want you to watch episodes, one of the episodes between what, 1 and 5, where we,
Can we do it
remember,
again? Can we
look
do it
like
again?
this. Remember when we, except we were also very pixelated and blurry because our cameras were terrible then. I want you to go back to one of those episodes and look at how much we've changed over the years.
Yeah.
Because we've grown a lot. I don't know, but like we are, I feel like we've elevated our professionalism a lot. Is Larity guest appearing?
He is. How did you know?
Well, because I heard him scuffle. Hi, Larity. Look at that handsome boy.
He's trying to walk on my computer, and I don't want him to.
He needs a white bow tie collar.
What dropped? Oh, nothing important.
Little Professor Kitty. But so, no, I think looking ahead, I feel like I think we're going to evolve a lot if we do
Yeah.
revive again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it happening. Um, I don't know. Because I think like if my mental health improves, I would want to do the show again. We talked about like doing the show like with recorded. If we do it recorded, I think I'd be able to continue the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
I,
that's the only way I'd be able to do it, that I wouldn't
yeah.
be able to do it live anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think so. We were talking earlier before the show started, before recording, and Ari and I came to the decision that we really like the dynamic of pre-recording because like the pressure of lives, I don't know, like I'm just losing the lives have lost their luster to me.
Yeah.
And I like being able to do it like this because it feels like we're just sitting at a coffee shop having a conversation. And I feel like we would be able to optimize recording a lot more effectively if we did opt to continue this way in the future.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We do know that we are in for a break. And I mean, we're treating this like an end because, I mean, we still don't know for sure. But I think that we are feeling a sense of renewed optimism, though, which is good, right?
Yeah. I think that I feel because of the way the last episode went with the pre-recording and the way that the episode was received, and the way that I was able to feel more relaxed after the last episode, and the way that the internet kind of calmed down after the election. Um, and it's continuing to kind of like, although we're gonna see because the inauguration's in January, so we're gonna see how January goes.
Right. Yeah. Now, so I'm going to be honest, I was kind of blown away. Like, so our episodes, I mean, we get some decent views on them, but our last episode is one of our highest viewed episodes, hilarity. And the fact that, like, I was kind of mind blown by the amount of response that it got. So I do think that pre-recording and then just doing a premiere is far more practical because it's a little bit more connected to the algorithm than doing a live. So
I just didn't realize, like, because you get caught in a bubble and you think like, we're doing this show, it's just you and me, like, you know,
yeah,
and it that it didn't, I don't know. I just didn't realize how many people's lives we affected and
yeah,
how many lives we touched with this show. And so it was a heavy decision for me to end the show, but I don't know, like I I want it, I want to protect my mental health. I want to protect my mental health, but I'm also like really like, now there's like all these other people that are coming forward and being like, "Oh man, I'm really going to miss the show." And I'm
yeah.
like I didn't realize like how many people there actually were that were watching the show. And like, so it's putting a little bit of an extra like, oh man, like I'm walking away from all of this. And so it's like even heavier that like, oh man, I am leaving this behind.
Oh, you're gonna make me emotional again, Ari.
And I'm like,
We're gonna cry again.
I
Um,
know, I know.
that's how. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I got really emotional when people, like, after we made our formal announcement. I did not expect the people that we had to reach out and be like, "Oh my god, like we love you guys." Um, one person was like, "I got so used to this every Thursday for 5 years, to like where it's so familiar."
Hmm.
And then when someone mentioned the irony of the election happening and then us not being here to talk about it and like engage in the activism that we engage in, like that was very thought provoking for me. I was just like, you know, artists, poets, podcasters, like we literally always have our fingers on the pulse of society and pop culture, right? And there was a moment, I was just like, I was getting emotional over being like, I can't imagine, like every time a big event happens, I'm gonna be like, Ari, I wish Ari and I could talk about this on the show.
I know. That's why I was thinking about like, man, if we ever had an episode 300, what would it be about?
Hopefully, it would be about a beautiful solar punk future
I know.
where there's world peace
We're all successful.
and we're all
Who do you think we
successful.
would? Because we said it'd take you like 10 years or something to get to episode like 300, or like 4 years to get to episode 300.
I don't know. I mean, it would take a while. I mean, it's taken us 5 years to get to 180 ish.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like another 4 years, maybe
I think it'd be closer to 5 years
5 years.
thereabouts. So it would be what? It would be 2030. I would be probably 40, 41,
I'd be about 45.
and we would be aging like fine wine.
Yup. And I would be in the throes of menopause
Oh my goodness.
if I'm not dead yet. My mom was like, I had a fight with my mom today, and she was like, you can die at any time. She was talking about Bob Marley dying, and she was like, you could have a heart attack at any time and die. You should just live life to the fullest. And I was just like, I do not need to be told that I'm going to die at any time. Like, that is not the way this conversation should be going. Like,
What a
I
thing
am
to
perfectly
say.
healthy. Like, it's not nice to say that someone that you're going to die soon or that
I
you're going to.
know. But we live life to our fullest. That's why we do this. That's part of our living our lives to the fullest.
Right. And the thing about it is that, I I live my life in accordance to how I want to live. Like I write every day, I exercise, I eat healthy.
Mm-hmm. We carve out time and care for our mental health, which is important.
Yeah.
Something that we never used to do when we were younger. I think obviously in 5 years, if we were still doing this, I would think that we would be far wiser than we are now. I don't think that I think we're relatively wise as it is, but like I feel like we would have a different I feel like we would be the same, but we would be more refined. We would be diamonds.
If I continue on the trajectory that I am, um, I would read about, what is it? 5 times 6 is 300. I would read about 300 books in 5 years.
Wow. If I go the trajectory I've been going when it comes to writing, in the next 5 years, I should hopefully have at least 2 or 3 more books under my belt.
Yeah.
Written, of course. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I feel like I'm on the precipice of another huge creative stint. Like
Renaissance.
a creative renaissance. Like 2020, like 2019, 2020, that was like, and into 2021. Like those 3 years, huge creative renaissance. I've taken like 2.5 years off. And I think I'm going to enter another one where I'm just like,
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people during the Trump administration did a lot of like anti-Trump stuff. And there was a
mm-hmm,
lot of like anti, especially during the pandemic, a lot of people had more time on their hands to write.
mm-hmm,
And I feel like that's where a lot of art came from. And I feel like a lot of that art is going to come back again because there is a Republican coming into the White House.
mm-hmm. Well, like I mentioned earlier, I do feel like as artists, writers, podcast, like we do have like I think we kind of have like this responsibility, this obligation to reflect, to document,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another reason why I enjoy doing this type of thing is because, like, our generation, how many historic events have we had to deal with since 9/11? I would say since Columbine and Matthew Shepard
Do you?
before 9/11.
So let me show you. These are what I have left to type up for this year. Do you want to see what I've written this year? You want to see my
Yes.
right pile? Okay.
Yes, please show me.
Hang on, let me go get it.
Just as Ari's going to look for that, everybody needs to know that Ari has a far more balanced creative outlet or creative output than I do, which I'm always envious of. For me, I might like write 20 poems a year if I'm lucky. I need to
Oh,
get
it's
better at
heavy.
that. Oh my God.
That's my right pile for this year.
Holy hell. How many legal pads is that? That's like,
Let's
I need you to
see.
count them, Ari.
That's got one poem in it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
21.
21.
That is, Ari, that is amazing.
I write 6 poems every day.
Again, like I've said while you were looking for that, I wish I had that output. I wish I did.
But I save all of my notebooks.
I'm glad you do. I think you should. I think,
Yeah.
again, like just documenting. For me, I'm going to be honest, like this notebook, this is my poetry journal. I've had it since 2012, August 11th, 2012. And I have filled up about.
Do you want to hear a random one?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's pull from the middle of the pile.
While you're looking for that, guys, this is my regular journal. I use it for therapy. I've also had this since 2012, and I'm over halfway through it.
Wow.
But I also do a lot of online journaling too, so I kind of intermix between the two.
Okay, let's see.
I think a couple of your poems would be a wonderful way to wrap up this episode.
Okay. The rain into a rainbow. I don't know how to define the feeling in my heart. Rain down and light fractaling across the sky, red submerged, orange scattering, yellow, sunny green jealousy, with wicked smiles, blues falling and uniting in the hall. Will he call? Will he call? Violet, indigo is forgotten, dropped in the spectrum because we want a perfect 7, because it's holy number compared to 6. But 6 is what I see, and you can't do that to me. Love me and tell me specifically why, oh, why do you love me? I love you true, but okay, boy, am I truly amazed at you.
God, I love how you read.
Okay, let's read
It's so
another.
good. It's so good.
This one's from June. So it was the color, that was the colors of the rainbow, if you didn't quite catch that.
I did. When did you write that last one?
That was in April, I believe.
April. So this one's a little bit closer to now. So
This is June. This is June. We're picking a random page. Dancing in the afternoon. How to track the movement of the eye across the horizon as the boats dance in grace, left to right and swing back again. Their little own swirling universe, ballet, black, white, gray sails, puffed out and gliding high. They are all pivotal, and I'm able with my own shadow behind, in front. I've done the work, and now I'm resting myself today, ticking off the time until enlightenment, I guess. I'm trying to reach some level, some power of grace that'll reach me, some level of being that'll get me on high. I'll get there. I love how they've managed to survive. My gaze makes it to the swans, their grace. They were protective this year, so fierce, so loving. So they fought for their babies like a good parent would and should, and they will survive like good children should and could. They're dancing in the water too. The light tricks us with our shadows.
ooh, the light tricks us with our shadows.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal end to that poem. I mean, the whole poem is amazing, but that end, Ari.
Yeah. Whole year's
I am shooketh.
I'll read one more.
That please, because that was I'm eating this up.
So this one I wrote in the mental hospital when I was in the hospital. I wrote several poems while I was in there, but I destroyed them all except for this one that I managed to save. It's called The Sun and Shadow. You're not bugging us. You're a blessing, she said to me. I feel it to this day. It rang in my soul like a gong. I go to the beach back to myself, in myself, the self to unity in self. Ah, they say. Oh no, Ari, they say. Ari, 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 Ari. They call to me like a siren's ring, defending to the atmosphere. I fear the sun coming down on me, the fall crisp afternoon defending the evening. It is the evening of my life. The air is fine out tonight. I'm trying to defend myself from the ugliness beneath the waves, the ugliness of my head within my head. Back to myself, on to myself. She said, "You're not a bother, you're a blessing," and I feel it in my soul sing. I could not believe that that revelation that I had at that moment that I struggle with when the sun goes down in shadow.
Wow. That sense of being a burden.
Hmm.
That was a powerful poem.
It was hard to read because it was in pencil.
I love poetry so much.
Why don't you read one of yours, one of your newer ones?
One of my newer ones. Well, let me find one. Let me find one really quick, and then we will wrap things up. Larity, do you have a poem to read?
No. You're only a
Larity.
fat.
I can read. So the most recent poems I've written are my Octopoember poems. Here is one. This is a very I don't know if I shared this with you yet, Ari, but day number 3 of Octopoember 2024 was Food Frenzy. I had to write a poem about food. So I wrote this piece about reflecting on my family being together in canning. And it's titled Brine. Quart canisters steam like geysers as they sit on the counter, sterilized. My love shifts the pints over to make room for mom's cutting board, all the while cackling at my dad's off-brand jokes. I watch this kitchen alchemist drop dill sprigs in jar bottoms, pack the cucumbers in tightly, then the mustard seed, alum, and garlic. From this cooking station, it's hard not to revel at the way my family fills this house for the first time, his and mine. Laughs spring between timers while the pots on the stove gasp their breaths of brine. I hold the jars. He pours it in as my parents direct us in our waltz around the cramped kitchen. And for a moment, the ghost of my adolescence possesses me long enough to see his future prints with jeans painted in tomato juice, framed against the backdrop of 2 accepting parents, proud, shrouded behind the foggy windows of a home long in the making.
Wow. Wow.
I felt that one was kind of fitting to end considering what we were talking about earlier about our younger selves.
Yeah.
I do feel like my younger self would be comforted by me now in some way. Maybe subtle, but in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Thank you. I love doing this.
I love doing this too.
Oh. Do you have any parting words for the evening?
Mm. Do what you love, and the rest will follow.
Perfect. My friends, we love you, and we will see you on the next one. Click like, subscribe, comment, all of that jazz. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Mwah.